So we've cut all the holes out for our windows, we've cleaned up all the edges, and now we've painted all the bare edges with a direct to metal paint as well, just to stop corrosion. We've cleaned the van thoroughly as well, so we've hooved up all our debris from our cutting and our grinding, removed all our masking, and now we're ready to fit the trim. Okay, for our side windows and our sliding door window, we've used this size U-channel trim to go over both parts of the door aperture or the side window apertures. But for the rear, for the tailgate, we're going to use a slightly different trim. This is still a U-section trim, but it's a lot smaller. What this allows us to do is have more room for bonding glue on the outside, hence why we're using the smaller one. Okay, so this is our U-section trim. Now this U-section trim is going to push over both parts of the aperture. So we've got the outer skin and the inner skin. This fits over both. So we're going to start somewhere roughly in the middle. So I'm going to put the trim over both sections and push down. Doesn't need a lot of pressure, it will go down quite nicely. The only places we might need a hammer is in the corners, just to make sure that it's in the corner before we go up. So we'll just give it literally. It sounds pretty solid anyway, that's good. Then when we get back to the middle, we're just going to snip that with a pair of snips and join it back up. So we're just going to mark with a pen where we're going to join. So now the trim is fitted, we're going to go ahead and fit the trims to all the other windows. Okay, so on the trim that we're fitting to the sliding door, the handle for the opening of the sliding door will need to be loosened off to allow us a little bit of room to be able to get this trim behind that part of the handle first. So we go ahead with our T30, and it comes forward enough to allow us to get that trim between the handle and the door frame, and then we can do our handle back up again. As you can see, using a trim that's too large doesn't allow us enough space for the glue for bonding our screen together. Obviously we need a certain amount of area for our glue to take to. With the smaller trim, that's what we have. We've got a good finger line of glue that we can put in there. Now we have our seal trims fitted to all our windows, the rear windows and all the side windows. Our next step is on our glue line, we're going to take Scotch-Brite, and what we're going to do, we're going to literally take the shine off the paintwork. Obviously you have to be really careful we don't touch the body of the car anywhere else. If you want, you can mask and tape up if you're not comfortable. But what we want to do is take the shine away from the paint, which allows us a keying surface for our primer to key into and allow to really stick well when we put our glue on. So literally all we're going to do is take our Scotch-Brite and literally rough up that area. And we do that all the way round. Okay, so we're getting ready to fit our tailgate glass. First thing we do is get it out of our packaging and we check for any damage on the glass. We don't want to be fitting it and then find damage afterwards. The other thing we do is install our suckers. Basically we put these onto the glass so we can lift and maneuver our glass. These are available from Just Campers, extremely handy. If you haven't got a trestle to put it on, as long as you have a reasonable sized table or the right high surface, be fine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this cleaned and ready to prime. So I'm going to turn this over. So the first thing we need to do is clean this edge all the way round and then put our special glass adhesive primer on. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is degrease the area. So we have our special cleaning wipes. Now we're just cleaning the edge because this is the edge where we'll be putting the primer. So we want to make sure that's clean for the primer to adhere to. Also we can now run that around the car and make sure our car is fully degreased to put the primer on as well. It's always a good idea to hold the glass up to the vehicle and do a dry fit first without any glue, without any primer, and just make sure it sits flat. We've already done this. We haven't got any issues with our trim holding the glass off. Sometimes if the trim protrudes a bit too much, it will hold the glass off the body. So all you need to do is use your rubber mallet and tap the trim down. We've checked that, everything's okay, so I'm going to go ahead and prime. This is our primer. This helps the bond adhere to the glass and the painted surface of the vehicle. So we basically put it in and then carefully run the primer around where our glue is going to go. I'm just going to do a double thickness line here just to make sure I'm in the same vicinity as the glass, as the bond when we put it onto the vehicle, so we can't get that wrong. Okay, so now we're going to take our primer onto the vehicle, onto the body. Again, taking care not to use too much. Again, I've used the masking tape to prevent us getting this on the paintwork where we don't want it. So literally I'm going to come down. Okay, so our next step after we've allowed our primer to go touch dry is to use our bonding agent. This is a self-curing bonding adhesive for glass, specifically for glass. We apply it with just a mastic gun. It's a good idea to warm this tube up, so you can warm it up in some hot water, and that allows the glue to flow a lot easier using one of these guns. And we're going to apply it directly to our body of our vehicle all the way around. We're going to start on the lower in the middle. We're gently going to go all the way around. Now the applicator's got a V cut out of it. We want to stand that up, so as we apply the glue, we're leaving a V-shaped glue all the way around, and that allows us to, when we stick our glass on, it will then widen out and adhere properly to the glass. Just apply at a nice steady rate. Keep going. We want a continuous bead of sealer. If you have to stop for any reason, you can do, it's fine. You can squidge it back together. We apply our sealer directly to our primer. Join your sealer back up. Quickly check your sealer, make sure it's nice and even all the way around and you haven't got any gaps. If you've got gaps, now the time is to put a little bit in if need be. Okay, now we're going to fit the glass. So we gently put our glass into position. We've already done a dry fit, so we know it fits great. I've got my friend Nick to help me because this is a big piece of glass, so we want to try and get it right first time. So we're going to go the upper edge first, just basically line it up with the body. You okay, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay, then push the top on and then just follow around until the bottom goes on, and then place it in the middle. That's good. Okay, so we've got our glass in place with the adhesive in place. What we've used is some cloth reinforced tape again, just to hold it in place. Once we've got it moved and got it central, we'll place the tape on. We'll leave that to cure for a day. It will start activating and going off within an hour or two, but I wouldn't recommend driving for at least a day. Okay, again, so we've taken our side rear glass out and inspected it, and we've fitted our suction pads to the other side and inverted it. So now we're going to go around and clean the outside of it before we use our primer. So we're ready to apply our adhesive. I will say you need to use one of these tubes per glass because they do go off very quickly. So by the time we've tubed it on, it's already starting to skin over. So then that half tube, used tube, will be no good. So we throw that away, discard that. Also, you probably noticed I'm wearing gloves. It's a good idea too because this stuff sticks to your skin and you'd have to grow it off. It doesn't wash off very well. I'm going to use our triangle cut on that side to leave a nice edge. And we're going to go and apply all the way around again on the primer. Just take your time. You have got enough time, plenty of time for the glue to stay wet. Okay, so we're ready to install our glass. The glue's on, it's ready. I've also installed a couple of pieces of cloth reinforced tape. So once I get the glass up there, I can then basically hold it in place with the tape. The glue will hold it initially, but we can move it around and get it perfect. And especially if you're doing it on your own, always try and make sure I've got a bit of tape ready to go onto the glass. Just makes life a bit easier. Okay, again, we're going to move it up to the top first, leaving the bottom away, so we can just marry that corner up of the glass with the body. And then just gently touch down onto our glue, and then we'll bring the rest of it down. And then we're just going to gently push. So we've got all the glue on the glass. I'm going to go forward actually there. Okay, so we want quite a nice even gap all the way around again. So check your gap at the back, check your gap underneath, and also along the top. The reason I say it is obviously we want the next bit of glass to match up with this bit of glass. If we've got a nice even gap, it'll be easy to move. Hold my top, stop it sliding, same this side. That's good. Okay, just using a bit of masking tape as well. Literally just to try and hold it in place while our glue cures off. It is actually stuck fairly firm in about an hour, but I would not advise driving for at least 24. And that's our side rear window done. Okay, so now we're ready to fit our sliding door glass. One thing to note on this glass is that it has drains for the sliding window. These are water drains. There's one each side. Now we must take care that when we put the sealer onto the vehicle, we don't put it on too heavy. We don't want the sealer oozing over and blocking up the vents for the water to flow out of. So we just take note when we put our bottom line along, we don't have to go too heavy. As you can see, I've placed a little bit of masking tape here. And this is a dry fit, so the window's in and then just held on with a little bit of cloth tape. The reason why is because I'm going to show you how and where to put the primer on this window. So we're going to mark it from the inside to just give us an indication of where we should be putting our primer, but I'll explain as soon as we get in and do that. Okay, so our window's held in with our tape from the outside. If you're not 100% happy with that, you can always get your friend or your mate to hold the glass from the outside. Now, I've just literally got a pencil with a reasonably sharp point. But all I'm going to do is going to go around and mark just above our sill, all the way around our glass. Okay, so you can see we've got our pencil line that we've made from having the window dry fitted on the van. And this just helps to give us an indication of where to put our primer. Okay, and also we have the seal on the van as well. We need to take that into consideration. So our pencil line and our seal, then we would be applying our primer this side of that seal all the way round. So it would leave a gap of probably 15 mil all the way around. And it just makes sure that we've got our primer in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and degrease our window, degrease our vehicle, and then get ready to apply our bond and fit this sliding window. Okay, so as a guide, we've done our pencil line, and we're going to use our seal that we've obviously fitted to our vehicle. I'm just going to make a little pencil mark this side of the seal, and that basically shows me the gap that I need to leave with my primer all the way around. Okay, so we're going to prime for our glass on the vehicle. Again, keeping it close to our seal, so then we match up with our primer marking on our glass. Okay, sufficient primer for our glass to adhere to. The other thing we're going to do is I'm just going to increase our primer width across here. And the reason I'm doing that is because where the two pieces of glass butt up, there will be a gap, and you will see the paint colour come through. So we can use our black primer to disguise that, hence why I've used a little bit of masking tape top and bottom, and we're literally just going to fill that centre strip with our black primer. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and apply our bonding adhesive. It's a really good idea to keep these in your house overnight so at room temperature when you use them. The colder this glue is, the much more difficult it is to get it out of the gun. The warmer it is, obviously the easier it flows. You can even warm them up before you open them and stand them in some hot water for a little while just to absorb some heat. And then it becomes a lot more liquid and easier to apply. So again, on this lower window, we're keeping our bond as close to our seal as possible, and that enables us to make sure that the glue doesn't cover up our drain seal, our drain tubes on our glass. Okay, so that's our line of glue adhesive all the way around. So it's a good time to check it now, make sure we haven't got any breaks, any lows or any open parts. If we have, we can correct that now. It all looks good, so I think we're ready to fit our glass. Okay, so we're ready to place our glass onto our glue. Again, we're going to put the top edge on first, just so we can sort of see the location a bit better. So we're going to go up to that corner. Okay, once the top's somewhere closely located, we're going to push on for glue. That's it. Same again, I've used a little bit of cloth reinforced tape up the top, so once I get the glass held in position I can drop the tape down and it just aids keeping the glass steady. And we can move it around and get it to line up with our rear glass. So let's have a go. Okay, much the same as before, we're going to put the top up first, so we're going to copy our line on our vehicle. Get the glass in, and then once the top touches the glue, just gently let the rest of it come down. Okay, now we can start moving it around and get it to line up with our rear glass. And at the moment, obviously you can see the grey paint through. There is a bit of trim that we can put in behind to get rid of that grey, or you can simply open the door and just paint a black line behind there if you prefer. But it is really down to personal taste. So we're going to be fitting our last side window. Now this window is obviously going over a panel because we're having a unit fitted on the inside, so we don't need a see-through glass here. So the glass we're fitting on here is 100% tinted, so you can't see through it. Literally, we're going to run our glue line all the way around the outside as normal. I'm going to put our primer on first. And then the other thing to mention, when we're applying the glue, we're going to leave a gap at the bottom of about 1 inch. The reason for this is that the air inside the glass can heat up and can shatter the glass if you don't leave an air gap. We have to apply quite a heavy amount of glue on this glass. Reason being that it hasn't got a trim to sit on. So we're going to build it up with glue to get it level with this glass. Okay, so for the purposes of fitting this rear window, obviously because it's a fixed window, we haven't got an aperture to line up with. So I've already gone ahead and applied our primer. Now I'm going to measure our primer roughly to see where it is and get the primer. The important thing is to make sure we've got the primer in the correct place on the glass that we're fitting. And again, it doesn't matter if we go a very wide band on that glass because we can't see through it anyway. But again, we need to make sure we're in the realms of where the glue is. So I'm going to measure to our swage line, roughly. Okay, so it's roughly 5 centimeters to the center, pretty much all the way along. Yep. So we're pretty consistent. We've got a 5 centimeter gap pretty much all the way round. Okay, so that gives us a guide for putting the primer on our fixed glass. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and clean our glass as normal. We've obviously checked for damage and make sure we haven't got any scratches or chips on this glass. Obviously do that before you stick it to the vehicle. Okay, so with this glass, as I said, we've already measured the vehicle to see where our primer line is, and we know roughly 5 centimeters in. So again, roughly 5 centimeters in from our edge of our glass, I'm just going to put a little pencil line. And that's basically where I'm going to start our primer line all the way round and then make it thicker towards the inside. And then I know for sure that I'm going to be on the glue line with our primer. Okay, so now we have a very wide band of primer, but we know for sure we're going to be within our glue line on our vehicle. Okay, so we're going to apply our glue to our primed area. This is for our cover-up glass. Now, as I said before, we're going to have to try and make this glue as big as possible to line up with our glass here, because we haven't got a seal to be sitting on, whereas this one has, so it's already raised away from the vehicle. So, and we're also going to leave a gap at the bottom. That's our air gap to prevent the glass from building up pressure and breaking. It does look like a lot of glue, but it will help our glass stand off and match up with our front window. And that's it, and then we're going to leave our gap there. That's our air gap. So again, the same deal, we're going to put the top edge up first and hold it off so we can marry it up with our body line at the top. And just gently touch down onto the bond. I can feel we're on the bond now. Okay, so we are now going to move it around and get it to level up with what we've got. A little bit of pressure. As you can see, it's just leveling up nicely. That's all aided by that extra amount of glue that we've used. And that's the last piece of our glass fitted. With all your windows fitted, you'll notice it makes a massive difference. It really brings the light inside the van. So we've gone from just a plain old panel van to a really good start for our camper van conversion.